less of ourselves and more of you as we share our resources to improve the plight of others in our community. This we thank you for in Christ's name. Amen. Amen.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? First of all, I'd like to say thanks to everyone that's here in attendance this afternoon, taking time from your busy schedule to come and see what's happening in east end of Liberty County and Liberty County. I am your county commissioner for District 1 for a total of 22 years and 11 months. And it shows. Thanks to Mr. Joey Brown up there, he still has hair and I don't. I'd like to do this first of all before I forget. We have Mr. Reggie Pierce, where you stand, Liberty County Coroner. We have the mayor of Midway, Mayor Clancy.
All right, Midway, what's wrong here?
We have our sheriff, Will Bowe. We have the mayor pro tem of Midway, Mayor Clementine Washington. I'm trying to go down the road, make sure I don't miss anyone from the elected official side. I ain't worried about him. We have on the front row right here, the real Mr. Williams, will you stand? We have with us our past chairman of the Board of Commissioners, D. John McCall. Are there any other elected officials? We have with us also tonight Mr. Joey Brown, the county administrator. Our road department, Mr. Clinton Wells. We have with us a special person tonight that can squeeze the brown off of a penny and tell you where it needs to go. Ms. Kim McLaughlin. And just to say this tonight, put her out there. She was actually off today, but she said she was going to make sure she make this meeting. That's what you call a dedication. We have from Mr. Trent Long office. Adam. Mr. Trent Long, he had a death in the family, so he could not make it. I'm looking. That's about it. But now, last, who said he can't speak under 3 minutes? Is our state representative, Al Waynes. But tonight, I hope that as you all walk through the door, you will brighten on some knowledge, but I hope when you leave, you are much more brighter. There's some discussion tonight that I hope that we can go through it briefly. If we have questions and I cannot get the answer for you tonight, I will get back with you in a decent time. We want everyone to respect each other as they are speaking. We have a couple of slides to show where your tax dollars go. But now we will have a welcome by one of our Liberty County Youth Board member, Mr. Isaiah Stevens.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you all made it here safely tonight. Tonight I want to welcome everyone to East Georgia, Liberty County for this informational session on our government. I hope that you will leave with more knowledge than what you came with. But first, we put ourselves in the right position to do what's right.
part of a program that I was seeking for probably 15 years, and we finally got it moving. And right now, thanks to the continuation of it to Mr. Mosley on the front seat, he has really hit the ball, and he's running around the bases with it. As we go this afternoon, I'm going to share some things with you that my likes and dislikes. I know that sometime at commissioner meeting, they get probably a little aggravated with me, but that's the way how the ball bounces. If we all was to sit up on that commission row and all agree all the time, you would only need one person. Tonight, one of my biggest issues is SPLOSH, the SPLOSH funding. I still don't believe that all commissioners should be receiving the same amount of SPLOSH, which is our one right now alone has about 28 miles of dirt roads, while other commissioners within the county has no dirt roads. But this was voted on about 8 years ago, might be 10, but it has not changed. I know that we look into it to see how it can be changed. Because now it takes almost $1 million to pave a mile of road. When I first went into office in 1999, it was about $350,000. That's how much it has changed. So for one commissioner to receive about less, it doesn't work. The math doesn't add up anymore. So that's one of my gripes. Now we have T-SPLOSH in place. T-SPLOSH is transportation. T-SPLOSH is also, they're looking at the same distribution of it with a small percentage of changes to the commissioners that have more rural area. So it's hard when you have cities that ask for help, like Midway, Riceboro, Walthallville in your district, and you have to turn to them and say, I can't help you. It's time that we look at that again. Also, we go back to SPLOSH a little bit and look at some of the SPLOSH projects that has been accomplished over the years. Paving of roads such as H. William Lane, Howard Hill, C. Anderson Drive, Robert Hill, Walthall Road, Waymaker Drive, Robertson Circle and Robertson Drive, River Drive, No Road, Bryce Lake, the widening and the resurfacing of Lewis Frazier Road, the Barrington Ferry project, which you will see we have a slide on it, and the replacement of the bridge, which was a state and county project. Am I correct, Mr. Brown? Also, the improvement down at Bill Carter in 84, which is a constant, we used to have constant use example, Yeoman's Road to this complex to vote is not really acceptable. They have not grumbled, but it's really not acceptable. It's too far. If some of us that sitting in here tonight had to travel that distance, we would have something to say. Another issue that I have is Freeport. How many of you all in here know what Freeport exemptions are? Freeport exemptions. That's the exemptions to companies that are within Liberty County that has merchandise on hand at a certain time of the year. You will see tonight on this slide, Freeport, I think is 52% of the exemptions are 100%. That's another way that we can possibly look at it. We do not want to cut it out altogether, but I think it needs to be looked at because Freeport is actually voted on by the citizens if we want to have it. And this is one way of lowering the taxes, lowering your property taxes. If we can lower the millage rate, then we've lowered your taxes. One other issue that I had the opportunity to debate a couple of months ago when we were looking at our millage rate to possibly lower our taxes. 2 commissioners voted to help decrease the taxes. 5 voted the opposite way, so you know how it went. The idea is the Board of Commissioners took over EMS, about 50 employees from the hospital. They came to the Commissioner Board. We accepted them. My feelings was, why leave the hospital with the same amount of money that they had all the time before, but they were losing 50-something employees and it was coming over to the commissioners. So the commissioners had to kind of slightly increase their millage rate to cover that cost, but the hospital kept what funding that they had. That was a way I saw of trying to lower our taxes by bringing it over. But it failed with me and another commissioner. But that doesn't mean that is the end of the road. I will continue to fight for lower taxes in Liberty County. So, without further ado, we will now hear from our Ms. Kim McLaughlin, our Chief Financial Officer.
I'll let Mr. Brown come back to that. I just wanted to give you an overview of the county finances, specifically the general fund budget and how that's funded. The county has 25 funds, the largest one being the general fund. We have 14 special revenue funds that are required by law. Can everybody hear me? I feel like this sometimes echoes. 14 special revenue funds that are required by law. We have 8 capital project funds and 2 enterprise funds. We also have 2 component units, that's the Health Department and the Development Authority, and a blended component unit, the Liberty County Projects Corporation. The general fund budget, $44.5 million. That is what we amended our budget to be when we adopted the millage rate at the end of October. Our fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th. The general fund has 54 departments in it. Of those 54, 31 departments are actively managed by either a department head or an elected official, and all the other smaller departments that capture very specific expenditures are managed by the finance department. Salaries and benefits within the general fund are over $30 million. So of that $44 million, $30 million are for salaries and benefits. And you would think so because your employees are your largest asset. That is your largest expenditure. Our average biweekly payroll is about $845,000. As of December 3rd, we had 515 employees. 411 of them are full-time and 102 are part-time and or seasonal. We have a solid waste operation that we run. We have 414 customers. Our rural water system has 269 customers, and then we have 29 customers in the general fund that we bill for various things. So our expenditures, salaries and wages, 21 million, employee benefits, 8 million. That's your 30 million. Purchase services, those are things for like your engineers, your attorneys, your court reporters, any type of purchase service, $7.9 million. Supplies, very small capital outlay, $816,000. Intergovernmental payments, those are payments that we make to other intergovernmental entities, whether it's to the state for the public defenders program, the state for Superior Court, those type of payments. Debt service, very small debt service, and other financing uses, which is the operating transfers out that the general fund has to do for 911 and for Wright Army Airfield. In this budget, those total expenditures are $44.5 million. We have identified $1.9 million of fund balance to use to cover this budget. And so your final expenditures that are applicable to taxing are $42.5 million. We can break that budget down another way. Public safety makes up 45% of the budget. Public safety is all of your sheriff's departments, your EMA, your fire services, your animal control, your coroner. All of those make up your public safety. General government, 26% at $11.6 million. That's going to be your county commissioners, your tax assessors, your tax commissioner, your engineering, your finance, your voter registration, all your general government. Then judicial is exactly what it is, all of your courts, your state court, your magistrate court, your probate court, superior court. Culture and recreation, that is going to be your library and all of your recreation programs. Public works would be the road department and the county maintenance shop. And then housing and development, very small amount goes to housing and development programs, and then health and welfare as well. Those are programs like the money that we contribute to DFACS or the Senior Citizens Program, those sort of things. In the budget, 61% of the budget are mandated services that the county is required to provide. And not all of those services, matter of fact, most of those services are not self-sustaining services, and that is why you have to have property taxes. But 61% mandated by law. 37% is what our county commissioners consider essential services. And then 2% are discretionary. And again, essential and discretionary, somewhat subjective. There might be some people who disagree on some of those. But that is how we classify those. And here are what some of those are. You can see the mandated services, most of what you expect, some of your law enforcement, your Board of Equalization, your finance, your elections, your governing bodies, your state court, magistrate court, probate court. Your essential services, EMS, fire protection, roads, those are not mandated. However, they very much are essential to a government and a county our size. And then some discretionary services. When we look at the revenues to cover those, property taxes, $27 million, 64% of our general fund budget revenues are from property taxes, various forms of property tax, whether it's your car tax, whether it's your property tax, whether it's your intangible tax, whether it's your real estate tax. It is some form of property tax where a millage rate is applied. General sales and use tax, that is your local option sales tax. That is the 1 penny that's added that we receive back from the state. Your selective sales and use tax, those are very specific sales and use taxes. Insurance premium tax, some penalties and interest. Your next two largest ones are your charges for services and your fines and forfeitures. So basically you've got 4 revenues: general property taxes, local option sales tax, charges for services, and fines and forfeitures that make up the bulk of your general fund revenues. And just to kind of give you an illustrative look at that, you can kind of see sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's your biggest revenue line item. Then your sales and use, charges for services, and fines and forfeitures. I did this for the Young Leadership Liberty class, but just to briefly explain the tax rate in Liberty County. We have an 8% tax rate. 4 cents for the state, 1 penny to the Board of Education, 1 penny for local option sales tax, 1 penny for special purpose local option sales tax, and 1 penny for transportation special purpose local option sales tax. So, if you buy a pair of sneakers for $100, you get taxed $8. $4 goes to Georgia, state of Georgia, $1 goes to the Board of Ed, $1 goes to Liberty County for the local option sales tax, which actually the local option sales tax is divided between all of the municipalities that provide certain services to citizens. So Riceboro, Midway, Walterville, City Hinesville, and Flemington all get a piece of that 1 penny. SPLOST, that dollar comes to the county, and then we send out the pro rata share to those other municipalities that I just mentioned. And the same with T-SPLOST. The county receives it, and then we turn around and cut a check to those participating municipalities. The property tax rate. The current property tax rate in the unincorporated area, 38.345. The Board of Education actually rolled their tax rate back this year. 15.9. Liberty County at 16.6. The Hospital Authority at 3.843. The Development Authority at 2, to give you a total unincorporated rate. So if you had a home value of $100,000, the assessed value would be $40,000. If you apply the county millage rate, your county property taxes are $1,534, and that's without any consideration on any types of exemptions that somebody may have. When we talk about the digest and where we get the what that millage rate is applied to, there are two types of growth that happen in the digest. There's the real growth and there's the reassessed growth. That real growth, of course, is the new property that was never on the digest that now comes on the digest as of January 1. And then there's the reassessed growth, and that's when nothing new has come onto the digest, but the values of the existing properties increase. So that is your reassessed growth. So when you look at this chart from 2012 through 2021, the green is the real growth, and the yellow is the reassessed growth. And I don't know if anybody remembers that year of 2015 where the reassessed values dropped significantly. So we actually had negative reassessed growth. So in that particular year, our net digest actually decreased. Let's see, might be it. The issues that we look, that we continually study for our budget, we continue to fulfill our obligation for countywide fire services, which the board started several years ago, and just probably in the last 3 years has truly gained the momentum of becoming full-time countywide fire services. Of course, as Commissioner Stevens mentioned, the EMS operations are now run by the county, so those employees and those operations are all done now by the county. We continue to monitor general fund revenues, all the other revenues, whether it's fines and forfeitures or prisoner housing or anything like that. We continue to monitor those on a monthly basis to make sure that we track any changes that are going to negatively impact the overall budget. We received what the federal government referred to as the American Rescue Plan. The county actually received $11.9 million. So far, of that $11.9 million, we have physically in the bank received $5.9 million. And we are currently building a budget to get approved by our board of what those funds can be used on. The federal guidelines are very strict, very specific on how some of those monies can be spent. So the board has created a committee, we've studied it, we've put together a budget, and we hope that in December, the board will bless that budget. It'll be a living, changing budget as we go along, but it'll help with the impact of COVID-19 going forward as well. We always consider the growth in the digest, as I mentioned, the real versus the reassessed, and then we proposed budget recommendations anytime through the year as we need when we get those changes, and anything that we've put together is based on our best estimates so far. I think that's all I have on finance. Anybody has any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the overall digest for the county?
Oh, was it? It was. This doesn't have it. It goes. I don't remember that off the top of my head, and I wish I'd have brought my materials with me. I was off work. I can certainly get that for you. It's also published in our annual report that's online. If you go to the website, and look under finance. The annual report will have that information in the back. But you're welcome to call the finance office tomorrow, and I can give you that specific information. So can the tax commissioner's office as well as the tax assessor's office.
Very good, thank you.
I want to say it was like 1.3 billion, but don't quote me, but I believe it's somewhere around 1.3 billion.
And
Countywide.
Is that total?
Total.
Is that the 100% or is that the 40%?
No, that would be the 40%.
Support.
That's the 40%, yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
Thank you, Ms. Kim.
You're welcome.
I'm going to change the procedure just a little bit. I don't want anybody to walk out before we get a chance to talk about this. We're talking about redrawing the lines, redistricting. There's some issues with this that I have dearly in my heart. If you all will look at the map on the wall. The pink, can anybody tell me what district that is? Can you find District 5? Can hardly see it. District 1 is in the pink. It is the largest rural district in the county. And that's why I have about 28 miles of dirt roads. But I want to say thank you to Mr. Wells that the Board of Education has not had to cancel any school days because of impassable roads. But I know it's a hardship on them to keep the roads up to par. But I say, and this is one reason why I'm looking at the funding, it's equal with all commissioners. There's one district up there you can't see when you see. But one thing that has really put a damper on everything this year, or for the next 10 years, a lot of households did not take the time to fill out the census paperwork.
Wow.
Did not take the time to fill out the census paperwork. As of right now, my district is coming from the waterfront all the way to Baconfield subdivision. From the waterfront all the way up 119 to Dunleavy Road to the Loudoun County line. From Highway 17, McIntosh County line to Leroy Baker to 196. Now, with the changes coming on, it will be extended from 119 past Dunleavy, cross over Highway 84 in Walthallville, and go to Airport Road with the same amount of fundings that I have been receiving all the time. It makes it, and also I'm picking up all of Homestown. Coming through from Homestown, I would then go back into Hinesville and pick up the Chrysler dealership, the post office, the road in between, Krispy Kreme donuts, and the subdivision behind it. But you still want to tell me that I have less citizens than any other district. I have a serious issue with that. I asked for the guy that helped us to map it to be here tonight, but I'm going to say it like it is. I guess he's just like the rest of the commissioners. Didn't want to face the heat. That's what it looks like. I call it like I see it. That's an issue with redistricting. Yes, it does affect some of the other districts in Liberty County, but I feel like District 1 is really being set up to fail. And that's just my thought on it. I wanted Representative Williams back there, but Mr. Brown, would you like to come forward and just say anything about the redoing of the lines?
Yes, I'd be glad to. So every 10 years the census is done, and under state law, every district in the county is required to be balanced with the same amount of voters in it by less than 1%. That number this year of required voters in each district had to be a little over 10,000 people, 10,352 or somewhere along those numbers. I'll hold me to them. So basically, you take the districts, you take your total census count, in this case, you divide it by 6, and that's how you get your number. And so every district has to have that many people in it. The problem with District 1 is that it is not as populated per square mile as the other districts. It's more rural, it's more spread out. So for an order, it had to actually grow by a little over 500 people. Some direction, it had to grow. There was no doubt it was going to grow. When it grew, it had to gain land mass. You don't grow without land mass. Other thing that's real important to, I think, understand, and you can't see it on this map, or it's very hard to see. When the census does its counts, it establishes what's called census blocks. That is a big, big misnomer of a term. They are not block-shaped at all. They are curlicue, they are round, they are non-proportionate to anything that you would think makes sense, except for the number of people that are counted in each area. That's what I'll call it. So inside of each of these areas, there are embedded census blocks in every one of these districts. Some of those census blocks have 230 people in them, some have 690, and some have 1. There is no proportionate count to how the Census Bureau does it. It doesn't make a bit of sense. When you increase your land size or you pick up people, you cannot split one of those little areas. So if you got an area of 450 people and you need 200, you can't take half of those. You'd have to take the whole thing if you took any. That block may be surrounded by a block that's got 2 people. So if you needed to take one block, you had to get the one before it. It's a very non-proportionate deal, but it's the law. The reason the districts inside the city of Hinesville are smaller is obviously they have got more people per square mile, right? You got to have 10,000 people, a little over 10,000 people per district. So those areas are naturally going to be smaller because you get 10,000 people quicker in a smaller land mass inside the city of Hinesville. So that is why District 1 is so large. It had to grow. The reason that it took in a section up here around the country club is there was a desire. Let me back up. The Voting Rights Act required there be at least one minority district in Liberty County. Okay? Liberty County actually had 2 last time. Between the last count and this count, the law changed, and the Voting Rights Act is no longer in effect. So there's really no requirement to have a minority district at all. But Liberty County wanted to at least maintain 2, and in fact, there was a desire expressed to maintain this district as a minority district, because after the census count, it was not a minority district anymore. It actually had 42% non-white, 43%. But there was a desire, since it was a historically minority district, to maintain it as a minority district among some. Okay? So what happened is you had 2 automatically. That's Districts 2 and District 5 in the city of Hinesville. Just the change of the things that happened there. In order for District 1 to maintain that historical minority designation, which puts it about 52% now, it had to come in to minority-based census blocks. Those little circle things I told you about, it had to go where those were and pick those up. And those are designated by census block. If you click on the map that we get from Census Bureau, it'll tell you inside every one of those little circle cues what the demographics are inside that area. So in order to do that, this area was not going to contain any minority. This area had to contain minority and a little bit of Waltoville, and that's why District 1 grew. That's why District 1 grew. And that is how those maps are done. The other thing I think is important, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. If this piece moves this way, it affects 1, 2, at least 3 districts. So every time you move a line over here and recalculate, this district gets recalculated. This district gets recalculated. But remember, when the game's over, you got to have exactly the same amount of voters inside those areas in less than 1%. It's not easy. But that's how you have to do it. Let me tell you what else complicated things real bad this year. Is that thing you saw that said COVID. So normally that census count is finished and is in the hands of the state and local people by May following the census count. You have to have this map done for the legislative session to meet the very next year, in this case, January of 22, so they can adopt these lines so that you as a voter who had something changed about your district, because everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people will, it just happens every 10 years, you have to have time to get notice so that when you early vote in March, you've got your new designations. COVID made us not get these numbers until September, the last part of September. So it made working these issues with this entire Board of Commissioners and the school board. Remember, your school board lines meet your county commission lines. So in total, there were 14 people that had to come together to work on these. And they came in a series of meetings among board members to look at it. And that's how that process works. And that's how it generally works every year. I'll tell you one thing that is good, and I'm just telling my age. Years ago, 30 years ago, what you used to have to do, and you can still do, is you can say, look, we're not going to try to draw them, we're not going to try to get all this mapping stuff I told you about so that you can do it and have your meetings internal. We're not going to try to do that. What we're going to do is we'll schedule a meeting with a reapportionment office in Atlanta that draws maps. And Mr. John McCallum remembers this. You get 1 hour in that office. 14 people would have gone, and did go, 20 years ago, for 1 hour in Atlanta, Georgia, while people not from here, and they're good people, would look at the maps and say, okay, this is your chance. And when you walked out of there in 1 hour, it was done. There wasn't any more thinking about it. Right, John? Mr. John? So there's pros and cons here. Yeah, your members get a chance to talk about it. They get a chance to meet. Is any map going to be perfect? Is any member, and I understand Commissioner Stevens' concern, is any member going to be 100% happy with their districts? No. No. Impossible. Because you're going to give up territory more than likely that you have supporters in. I mean, it's political. Let's call it what it is. But it is something that is a give and take type thing. And the other thing I'll mention that's important about the maps that the reapportionment office in Atlanta wants to see, and that is a continuous theme of who you represent, of what you represent, what I'll call the character area of your district. You had District 4, you got District 1, which Stevens told you, he's running all the way from here to here. You had District 4 that basically looped around through Fort Stewart and ran a finger back down into Hinesville. There's nothing in common there. Hinesville is so much different than anything that's gonna happen on the east end of Liberty County. For a representative to be totally embedded in Hinesville. Now, Commissioner Stevens is gonna pick up, I'm gonna count maybe 100 people in those areas. The commissioner from District 4 represented probably 1,500.
Excuse me, Mr. Brown, did you just say he's only gonna pick up about 100 people? Is that what you stated? So, if I may ask, District 1 ended on the previous map. Where was the boundary coming towards Hinesville? Yeah, and I'm asking this question because I'm in District 4. And based on what Commissioner Stevens said, where his new boundary will be, that's going to be quite a bit more than 100 people.
The old boundary, as best I remember, without the map up here, he came into the back, and he can help me, he came into the back of Waltyville, picked up a section of Waltyville where the new development is out there in Waltyville. Hinesville, I don't believe you touched Hinesville at all.
Let me see if I can clean that up just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't believe you touched Hinesville
Let's
at all.
see if I can clean it up. My boundary lines on this side was I went into Homestown. If you go into Hinesville, my boundary was on the left side of Homestown Road. Now I'm picking up all of Homestown, which will connect me where you live at, all the way through to, what I say, the Chrysler Place,
Right.
the subdivision out there. There's more than 100 people out there.
Absolutely. I mean,
That's
because
what I'm saying. I don't believe.
yeah, that's not accurate.
Yeah, I don't have the map in front of me.
Oh, I
Don't hold me to
understand.
that.
I
It went in
understand,
and
but it's
picked up.
important to know.
Yeah, it went in and picked up an area that had a large minority population in order to pick up, to make this a minority district.
Will that information be available to the public, and is there going to be a public hearing so
No, ma'am.
that the citizens will have a chance to view the map, the new maps? And also I understand that there's more than one map that was developed. So is this the map that the county is presenting to the public that you all will be voting on?
This is a map that a majority of your Board of Education and Board of Commission members approved to send forward to reapportionment for reapportionment.
So that is the map.
It ain't been approved yet.
Let me say
Oh,
this.
I understand that, but I just want to make sure so that when we look at the map, that we understand that that is the one in question.
That is the one that will be voted on.
Let me say this.
Thank
That is
you.
the one that is
Let me say this to everyone out there. When I left out of that office on that day, some of the roads that I thought I was going to obtain back, I didn't. I was under the impression that I was going to obtain Wilder Road, but I don't have Wilder Road. So there's been some changes from the time that I left out. That's why I asked Mr. Jimmy McDonald to be present tonight, but he's not here. For what reason? I guess we don't deserve a phone call or anything else. Now, also, this is going to create an issue for the Board of Election because the Board of Election is going to be responsible for notifying every change to every voter where they have to go vote at. So this is going to be an issue. Chairman McCarver is the chairman of the Board of Election. It's going to be an issue. It's going to be a challenge. Now, real quickly, I see you, hold on. Representative Wayne, would you kind of
Just for clarification, let me see this. Thank you, Commissioner, for having this. I must have cut it off, okay. One thing needs to be clarified. And I don't think, and Joy, you did a good job of explaining it, but the Voters' Rights Bill was not killed. Section 5 which required clarification from the Justice Department in order to change the line, was eliminated. Section 2 says that you cannot reduce a minority district or take it to a majority district if it was a minority district. Otherwise, you'd be surprised, but I've never represented a majority district since I've been in the House. My numbers this year are around 48%. But if that happens, you open the door for lawsuits, because that is against the Voters' Rights Bill. You have to maintain minority districts, unless all the minorities have moved out and you just can't find them. You have to keep a minority district under Section 2 of the Voters' Rights Bill. We went back and forth on that on a statewide basis, just got back a week ago. That's vitally important. Secondly, and here's one of the problems, the process. The process is that once a map is ready, and that's got a lot of definitions, it's sent to Atlanta for certification. That is not the official map until I sign off on it and introduce it as a local bill. It comes back. Each, the county and the Board of Education, will have to vote on the final map. I think one meeting is tomorrow night, another meeting is on, what, the 14th or somewhere like that. Those maps, if approved, will be sent for me to introduce local legislation. If they are not approved, you go back to what's called zero and start all over again. But they have to be approved when they come. A couple of things I don't do, 20 years as a representative. I only come to county commission meetings when I'm invited. Chairman McKay was here, chairman, and the same went with the current chairman. I never showed up, Master P on the agenda. I never even showed up because it indicated something. I waited for an invitation. I do that with every city and with the county. Very honestly, I'm a Democrat and I'm black, so I ain't get to say much about the map in Atlanta. I got to fight some. I just fought to hold on, and I kept my part. As far as the county goes, I said, I don't get involved in the county's process.
But you represent?
Really don't. No, I represent Liberty County, but they represent the district. And I respect their office, respect mine. If they call me, I will answer.
Well, maybe
but,
we need to get some new people in there.
Well, that's why every 2 years, 4 years, you get that opportunity. But what I'm telling you is this, is that, if I can now, if I can, if you have a question of me, you can call. If it's a state question, if it's a county question, and it has validity, I'll call a commissioner or the chair. But it would be improper, highly improper, for me to step over your duly elected commissioner to say something. And I don't. And I won't. And I will approve a map that your elected officials have approved and sent to me. I'm not going to say no because I don't like the map. I'll say yes when you approve it and send it to me. And what that map is right now, I really don't know. I've seen it. I've seen this one. I've seen all of them. But I do know this. Census numbers determine geography. I got a friend of mine who represents 8 counties because they're sparsely populated. She has 135 miles from one end of her district to the other. I represent 1 county because we have enough people. I need 3,200 new people. I can get them in Liberty County. But the more sparsely populated you are, the bigger land-wise your district's going to be. That's just the way it's always been. That's the way it is. The first district came out of a lawsuit that cut out the first district so that when the majority of minorities lived on the eastern side of Liberty County, it was determined that a minority commissioner could be elected because the people decided so. At-large voting kept us from having a commissioner. So the suit carved out the first district. And the Voters' Rights Bill of 1965 secured it and supported it. And Section 2 is the only part that's left. Yes, sir.
That's my question. I want to know whether the citizens' participation in this.
And I think you got the right person to ask. That's your county commissioner. Because your county commission is responsible for this map. The Board of Education is responsible for that map. Not me, Modibo. Ask the question. I think I told you that, but when you don't want to hear it, you ain't go here. But the thing is, it's your commissioner's responsibility. However they set it up is how it's done. A lot of things weren't done because of court. But this is your commissioner.
You don't do that anyway, so.
I don't even know what's your name. Honey. Tell me. You give him a number, you know that.
Okay, another one.
Commissioner Stevens, is Chairman Lovin here?
No, he's not here. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing, is that when, I'm sorry, Representative Williams, I appreciate your service, but you're one person. You're the minority. You can't possibly represent our district, our interests, because you're outvoted every single time. And we do not have a voice, not because you're there or not there. You are there. You are our voice, but you're outvoted every single time. It is stacked against this district. So this map was not approved by the people. It was approved by 5 other districts.
And appreciate your questions and your comments. We have struggled with this map and spent a lot of hours talking to people. I was in Atlanta all last weekend on the phone at night trying to talk about the map. I understand what everybody said and what Mr. Brown, Mr. Williams, what everybody said about the census, the blocks, the numbers. Our issue is, Mr. Stevens' issue is how vast this district is spread out, and the concern is that he wants to make sure that what he gets within the district, he can take care of. Roads, parks, all those things he has to take care of. I'm on the school board. I don't care if you live in Hinesville, Gumbaran, Sunbury, Riceboro, the city of Hinesville. You call me, I'm gonna send it to the proper people that take care of those things. I'm not gonna say, you need to call district whatever. But it's so different for the commissioners because they do have roads and parks and those things. And the comment that you made, ma'am, I've shared, we've talked about, I talked with Mr. Brown about. So our focus in the first district, because they're gonna do what they wanna do with the maps, it's just gonna happen. But the focus has to be making sure that we get our fair share of what we need in District 1. That's where we need citizens to stand up, not argue, fuss, and fight, but show up at the table and talk about what we need. Because, listen, the reason why we got the majority, because I was asked at the first meeting, what would happen if you don't care about it being a minority anymore? Well, 49, 51, what? I mean, you know, it is what it is. But what I care about, and they say, well, how would you explain that if you're not a minority district again? To Ms. Hicks, who fought so hard, and Mr. Anderson. Oh, I would explain that we are progressing. And whether we're a minority or not, we want to make sure that this district, I grew up here, things stopped at the railroad tracks, folks, and we got whatever was left. That is not what we want anymore. We want parks, we want roads paved, we want fire departments, we want all of the things that the taxes pay for in this county. That's it. That's what we want. Everything that everybody else in this county enjoyed, we want to enjoy in District 1. That's all. So if the map is what it is, we want to make sure that we get a fair, not fair share. We have equity. We're progressing. We're getting better. We're getting resources. We're getting services. That's what the focus for me is. So the map, yeah, it's tough, it's rough, and we've done all we know how to do as far as it goes. But what's more important is that equity piece.
I have a question.
Or as important,
What happens to
more
the
important.
equity? We don't get.
Let me just get 1 minute.
Thank you all so much. Let me say the school board is in good order. Our kids are doing well. We have the best graduation rate since I've been on the board. We're just doing good. We want you to know that. If you have any concerns, please call me.
I just wanted to see, hold on. Excuse me. That's all right. How you doing? How you doing? All right. I could talk about this for a while, but I'm just going to break it down real quick. The amount of people that's here, I would advise you to go to the county so you can voice your concerns before they vote. Because at the end of the day, you know people in all districts, whether it's just District 1 there or not. And then on the 14th, the Board of Education, now if either one of those members, boards, vote against it, like Representative Williams said, it has to go back and we get an opportunity to do these maps. I had no say in that map pretty much, just keep it that way. And I'm Board of Education District 2. Although we said several people won't be happy, I feel like this map was pretty much done to get District 4, which is not a minority district, which is pretty much gerrymandered to 21% minorities, which is, to me, illegal. We do have 3 minority districts, but when you see, and you won't see this with the city, if you look at the city zone, they have 50%, 40% with every group. If you look at our map, we have 40% in District
44 in District 6.
And 6, and then we have a high 30-something in District 2, and then we have 21, which shouldn't be 21 in no district minorities when you have a county that's 60% minorities. So that's something that needs to be changed, and that's something that if you want your voice heard, just this, tomorrow for county and the 14th for the BOE.
Next question, let's talk about
I'm District 2's representative for the Board of Education.
I'm going to take one more question on this, and then we're going to move on. Mr. McCall.
But our opinion don't matter. That's what you're saying?
Okay, go ahead, ma'am. This is the other one talking.
Okay, so you're saying that you're going to implement new roles, as Ms. Jones was saying. I address you.
I didn't say that. I said that's what we want.
Y'all
to
want
make
a
sure
new role.
we're fair and equitable. That's what I said.
Okay, fair and equity is what she said. It wasn't until I asked you, because I told you I live on Barrington Road. I told you about that road, how busy that road is. Chef Sykes is mine. That I'm sorry, because that's how long I've been talking about. But can I get what I gotta say out? Chef Bowman, I addressed him.
I'm trying to get everybody's attention. Okay, so what you're saying can be heard.
Okay, Chef Bowman, I addressed that issue. I asked you regarding that traffic and the bad danger on that road, that this is something that you can be working on. This is my suggestion as a resident of Liberty County, to fix that road. When you first start implementing about getting roads fixed, start with there, because I live on a dangerous road. I have to stand outside every morning. I don't get paid to do that, to make sure that those children that live on Barrington Road get on the bus safely. I've been doing this. I've been in Ms. Jones' house for almost 8 years. I've been addressing this issue. If you, our county commissioner, commissioner, and if I keep voting for you, and you can't do that, and guess what, buddy? You're not getting my vote. Because this is who I represent.
Ma'am, next person.
Yeah, I'm Martin McIver. 2021 was our busiest year with rainfall. And as the county sees about things, and everybody with this drainage system. So we really been through this on the county. So I want to know what we gonna do, cleaning up people's drainage and ditch so water can run off.
We are diligently working on that. We have Mr. Clinton Wells, we have Mr. Adams from the engineer office. It is becoming to be a nightmare, but we are constantly working on it, you know, at all times. And there's some tributaries that's going through personal properties, private properties,
right,
that we can't get to clean out. And it's causing an issue, so it is a nightmare, but we are working on it diligently.
I just want to clarify.
Mr. Frazier.
Yes. Mr. Stevens, is it concerned about the geographic area the district in, or is it more or less the amount of money, the increase you need to supply the service to this?
It would be a combination.
Right, that
combination.
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
Because
Not so much.
If you got a need and don't have the funds to take care of it,
Right.
then you still got an issue. Just like with roads, if you don't have, some people don't understand, if you don't have the funds to take care of roads, then you still got an issue.
And then you're getting more area.
Right, and I'm getting more area, that's the understanding. If you're getting more area and don't have the funds to take care of it, then you will put it in worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know some area down in Riceboro.
That's correct.
Well, we've talked
Take for
about
instance like Bill Carter Road, which is a main road. A main road. Okay, that's a cut through from 17 to Louis Frazier to 84. That road has probably 35% patches in it right now. And every time it rains, the patches come out. It's not that the road department is not doing it correct, that's just the way how it is, because that's a clay-based road, not a rock-based road. So it makes a difference with the funding to take care of the issues that we have on hand. Yes, sir.
But I live on King Creek Road. The problem I'm having is the fact that I don't think it's right for me when that school bus come down that road for me to pull off in some of this lane.
Okay. That road.
Every year my taxes go up on my house. That's one of my right.
I think, Mr. Wells, Mr. Adams, I think on the part that he's talking about, the county only owns about, that road is about 15 feet, 20 feet wide.
90% of the dirt roads in the county, we don't have a deed right away. It's not a 40-foot or 60 or 80. It's what we call a prescriptive easement. If we maintain it so long, the portion that we maintain, that's what belongs to us. I couldn't go in there and widen this road without engineers involved, easements, drainage, and all that stuff. All I can maintain is what we maintain. On 90% of the dirt roads, we just don't have deeds on it. Is the way it's come about, and that would be something that the way it works. If you want to upgrade a road or make improvements to a road, the commissioner sets that road as a priority. The engineer gets involved and they do their work, and that's how that works.
Because that was one of my questions, the fact that if that's the case, then my question is, then why is my taxes keep going up and I'm not getting nothing, no benefit out of it? But see, that's one of my questions.
Our taxes has not really gone up unless you've done some improvement. But everybody thinks, if you've done some kind of improvement to your residence, that will make your taxes go up. Like even if you add a utility shed in your backyard.
I understand that.
That will make your taxes go up.
I had that out there for 20 years.
But like for this year, that the village rate, actually the taxes should come down this year unless we get some improvement. Okay, because if you heard what they said, the school board lowered their taxes, although the county commissioners raised theirs, but we still came out with a lower millage rate. Okay, so your taxes should have gone down.
I'm gonna check it.
Since we're speaking on roads, I'm on Highway 84.
Stay high.
State. Well, you mentioned 84 earlier, that you needed to make bypasses.
Right.
I'm right there, 6 lanes, cross marks in front of my house. It is very difficult to turn into my house. I have to go down most times, either way I go, and turn around and go back if I'm going to Hinesville. If I'm coming back from Midway like I'm coming tonight, cars will be blowing at me. I have to pass my house, try to pass the crosswalks, get in the turning lane, and you can't get in the turning lane right there because cars will be coming in on you. So when you put your car on, the bypass for IGA, think about that light and that house. There are 2 houses, 3. 4. It is very difficult to get in and out.
Thank you. I have one issue that I need to bring to the board attention, especially in the first district. Highway 17 and the intersection of Barrington Ferry Road and Louis Fraser Road. I'm going to tell you, all right, standing here. I goes out in the morning to put my kids, grandkids on the bus and pick them up in the afternoon. And you all know that Highway 119 to Barrington Ferry Road is the alternate bypass getting around Hinesville for those workers who are coming to Midway or going to Savannah. That traffic is killing in the morning and in the afternoon. The trucks, 18-wheelers, is bypassing Hinesville. When they come onto that highway, to get on Highway 17 in the mornings, or in the afternoon, they got a load. When they pull onto the highway, there's no acceleration lane for trucks heading to Midway or north. Cars coming from Riceboro, people getting off from work, or in the afternoon, they are speeding. Speed limit is 55 miles an hour. You think they're driving 55? No. They are rounding that curve. 18 wheels that have pulled on the road, just poking, trying to accelerate up. I'm looking, and I'm praying that it doesn't happen. That someone lose their life at that intersection. I'm serious. I'm very serious about it. I see every day.
Mr. Chairman, and to answer, to give a thought on what Chairman McIver just spoke of, it's already in the works, and that's something I left off of my notes. The District 1 is so wide, I can't remember everything. But that's one of the projects that is on the table, Mr. Brown or Adam, either one can speak to it, that we're already looking at redesigning Barrington Ferry, Louis Fraser, and that curve.
Yes, so we've already, in fact, and Adam can get detailed for you if you want to. We've already submitted a design to Georgia GDOT. You know, we came in and changed out the bridge on Earl Bags through there. And so now the next step is to get GDOT to approve. that change of that intersection, Mr. John. And what it'll do, it'll completely change. There's only going to be one alignment that goes out to 17. You won't have two entrances and exits and all of that. One thing GDOT has suggested is looking at a roundabout there, which is what they're doing up on Highway 196 over to Glenville, that slows all that traffic down. And we've already presented our layout and presented that for them, so GDOT's basically looking at it right now.
Is that in line with the bypass construction, or is that previous to the bypass?
It actually, we told GDOT we'd like for it to be in place before the connector's finished. The connector is supposed to start construction in 2023, and that's the reason we went ahead and did the design, and the commissioners appropriated money to do the design for it, and there is money in your T-Splosh that you pass as a community to help do that construction.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to, question. Okay.
If GDOT approves, you put a roundabout in that section, what happens when there's a wreck on 95? North and going south.
Yeah. So,
you got to think about all that.
So, yeah, and so remember it's a state highway. Remember it's a state highway, and GDOT will ultimately decide what happens there. We didn't present a roundabout. They asked us to also present a roundabout, so that's reason they've got two designs.
That's about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It will be up to them to decide. Yeah.
We're going to, I'm not going to take long. You're not going to take long. But I want to just make a point. This map here speaks to revenue. That's the collection part of it, the government part. You remember that? Revenue part. And what you're talking about is appropriation. If the revenue is like that and you equally do that, then it determines the appropriation. You need to have a formula inside the county commission where the appropriation or the allocation of the money fits the needs of the people. And this is a large structure on the eastern side.
It was there.
And Hinesville, Riceboro is more industrialized than Hinesville.
Thank you.
You know, and of course the global warming is affecting this area. So you can't use, I mean, if you do that and just equalize and equally appropriate everybody's stuff, it's not going to work.
It was there once upon a time that the tax dollars was based upon the mileage.
Yeah.
Okay, which was fair. It was outvoted about 10 years ago, as I said earlier, and it changed where each commissioner to include the chairman to receive money. The chairman doesn't have any roles. So we were outvoted. Okay, that's the issue.
I just want to make sure everybody understands the revenue as opposed to the appropriation.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to Mr. Brian Darby. Hold on just a minute.
Hi, I'm Louise Brown from Riceboro. I had a question probably for the finance committee or department. How is it determined for each district? I mean, do you all not consider pretty much what Mr. Cooper just said about the size with Commissioner Stevens? His district is increasing now or may increase considerably. Can you all not somehow give him the extra needed funding to help? Because now that I'm on the council and roads department, and you're limited to what, if you don't have the money, it can't get paid. Right. And the amount of money that I've learned what it costs to pay just 1 mile of roadway. How can we help our citizens by covering the roads? Because I've gone on some of the roads in Riceboro not realizing the potholes, and I hit it, and it's hard. And, you know, they come to me. So what can we do to help Commissioner Stevens get the funding to help better our roadways and other things in our district?
I think he used that old term, political again. I hate to, but it is what the commission decides. The administration doesn't decide what to allocate for any road district. So it is 7 commissioners deciding how to appropriate their money.
Based on some formula,
It's totally up to them, Mr. Dowd.
So with this American Rescue Plan, is there maybe a portion of funds that's going to be in that plan that can be allocated to the district? Because it just seems like the map is not really the issue. The issue is funds, and if they're not allocating the money equally, because District 1 is such a larger area, we need more funds to do all the roads and things that people are talking about. So is any of that part of that American Rescue Plan where we can use money to allocate to that?
You cannot use it really for roadways or just public roadways. The only way that you could use that is under a separate appropriation that isn't granted to the counties, but is a state grant. It could go towards economic development, but it can only be used towards like industries and economic development items. Short answer for you without delving into that document is that it is basically meant to help sectors of the economy that were adversely affected by the COVID virus. And one position of the commission has appropriated money that meets some of those guidelines for businesses that were affected, homes that were affected, people that lost their jobs. Those are the kind of things that money's for. Yes.
All right, we're going to move. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thanks for having this meeting tonight. I got one concern. I'll probably speak to most everybody on the east end. Islands Highway.
We are possibly looking at the infrastructure bill that was passed last month. So that's a great possibility. And I think I've given Mr. Brown and the county engineer kind of like a marching order to start checking into it to see what we can pull out. So that may be an answer to your question.
Can I, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, that new federal appropriation that's coming, not ARPA related to any of that stuff, infrastructure bill, they haven't put out the details exactly how you apply for it. It's been assigned to the federal departments to administer, and they haven't come out with their guidelines. One of those are limited access roads, not limited access roads, single travel roads like Islands Highway or like the one that went to Tybee. Those are the kind of roads that you can address that infrastructure impact.
Well, thank you for that information. But also,
now, that could possibly be the answer or something that we could look into for what you're talking about, okay? Well, we haven't gotten the guidelines yet, so we're just working and looking, keeping an eye on it, okay? Now we're going to move on to Mr. Darby. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Small as you are.
We got some drainage issues over on Islands Highway. We got water crossing the road that I've seen, they've never seen before. I've been living there most of all my life. It's not the county's problem, but they need to look into it. And when they do Islands Highway, they need to add a bike lane. Chief right here will verify, we didn't have 2 fatalities on bicycles on Islands Highway. You got a little bike lane up there around Sunbury. I know y'all got a special grant for that. Is there any way when y'all do get appropriate funds to look into doing that? Because we have a lot of people riding bicycles down there. And also, this new building they put in at the industrial park, we got an egress, degress right there. They went in there and put in an extra lane. I want to let y'all know, I went to McDonald's and got me a chocolate milkshake. It's built half of it, one on that new farm road.
All right. Let's move on so we can share some more information. We're going to have from our Liberty County Fire Chief, Mr. Brian Darby.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody can hear me? Yes. My name is Brian Darby. I am the Liberty County Fire Chief for the unincorporated area of Liberty County. My primary response district is 181 square miles. I'm responsible for 7 fire stations, 3 of which are paid, 4 of which are volunteer or what we classify as substations. I will put this out front because I'm sure I might get the question. Yes, we have undergone an ISO review. No, I don't know what your new ISO rating is. This is out of the county's hands. It is at the state level. Nothing to do with the state, but at the state level of ISO, we all are at the mercy right now of ISO turning around and telling us what our new rating is. If you call my office, I will be more than glad to explain this to you and how the process works. But at the end of it, I don't know what our ISO rating will be. I can tell you what our current ISO rating is. Okay?
What's ISO?
ISO is your insurance premium tax, basically. It raises or lowers your insurance rates for homeowners insurance. Okay. Currently, Liberty County Fire Services has 19 full-time firefighters. We have 17 vacancies. Of that, the commission, with the help of the county administration, with Mr. Brown, did authorize us additional 18 firefighters this year. That was done in a staggered form with us working with finance to figure out how that properly works. And for the first 6 months of the financial year, we were supposed to bring on 9 more. In that time, we've only been able to bring on 1. The problem is finding people who are qualified to come work, who want to come work. This is public safety as a whole, it's not just fire service. I share this problem and this issue alongside with law enforcement, dispatch, and EMS. Part-timers. I have 21 part-timers throughout the county. They work 12-hour shifts from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And volunteers. We have 24 volunteers across the county. I'm going to go over some incidences. Taking on a quick story will not be too long. I started with Liberty County in 2013 with Mr. Brown as a volunteer. 2016, I came on as a part-timer. In 2017, I took over as the department head and the fire chief of Liberty County. Back in 2013, it was 100% volunteer. We had 1 true Liberty County station at that time, and everybody was suffering from issues of volunteers being able to respond to calls. The only paid department at that time was the City of Hinesville Fire Department. The state of Georgia, Georgia Fire Standards and Training Council decided to revamp some rules, which kicked out a lot of my volunteers, where they had to have a Georgia high school diploma and had to have that same continuing education hours of somebody who was a career firefighter. So it is very hard to be a volunteer in today's day and age, regardless of what agency you work for. Okay? But these are some of the incidences that we have encountered, and thankfully, with the commission and the support of everybody, we've been able to get full-time staff. Okay, this was a wreck out on 196 East. Okay, it was multiple fatality. These photos may be graphic, but you will not see any blood, gore, ooze, or anything like that. Okay. Interstate has been crazy for us. Vehicle fire here. It's another fatality. This took place out on Island Highway. This is an illegal burn. You'd be surprised how many illegal burns that I, myself, or my deputy chief have to respond to on a weekly basis. Illegal burning is something we have to report to the state and to EPA. Structure fires. This happened out in Woodland Lakes, and unfortunately it was too far gone in the 3 minutes it took us to get there. Semi-truck on the interstate carrying beer. This was a fatality. He burns up inside of his truck. This was out in front of Liberty County High School. This was a 5-vehicle accident that had that semi-truck on the left-hand side drive through all 5 vehicles. Luckily, everybody retained their life. Arson. This is something that's been huge. This has been a working counterpart between Liberty County Fire Services and the Liberty County Sheriff's Office for a couple of years now. We go in, we do our initial investigations, and then we turn and we talk to the few select that are certified through the Sheriff's Office to do fire investigations. This is actually an arson case that somebody was found guilty and is now currently spending 12 years behind bars for burning somebody's car down. This is something that Liberty County did not have 5-10 years ago. We now have that. School bus. This was a school bus wreck that happened out on Bill Carter Road. This, just straight up front, this was not a bus driver's fault. There were no students on the bus. But these are things that we are able to respond to and have quick response times to. These are our volunteers that we do have. Every Monday night from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., our volunteers will get off work, come to the station, and give me their time to conduct necessary and required training, but also build that cohesion amongst the group. This was our volunteer firefighter class that we just hosted graduated on September 6th with 6 new volunteers. This is them at their burn facility doing their live burn. Carolyn, I have the only pink fire truck on the East Coast. Carolyn is a longtime family member of Liberty County. It is actually the late wife to Commissioner Stevens. Carolyn her and I have butted heads many, many times. I have gone to junkyard to find parts for her. The county maintenance manager, Steve Coleman, has been phenomenal with helping me try to keep her up and moving. But she does. She goes to events, and actually here she was at the Cars and Coffee in Hinesville and won an award. So she is our pride and joy, and we're keeping her running. She is a 1964 engine. Just some other things that we did. We had the gentleman out of Florida, brought a lot of awareness to public safety, mental status. There's a lot of stuff that we see and go through, and we're just expected to sit there, and excuse my language, but shut up and deal with it. It's part of your job. At the end of the day, all of my staff are humans, and all of my staff are family. This gentleman walked every mile of Highway 17 from the McIntosh border to the Bryan County border, and we had staff out there walking with him. It changed something for us. With this, I had a lot of people, not only within my department, but outside my department, trying to say, hey, I need help. I did. I went to Mr. Brown and our HR department, and they were able to give me the help, and now have established programs for our employees to seek that help anonymously and not be afraid. All because a gentleman walked through Liberty County. These are some of the new pieces of equipment that we have requested. This was an entrapped vehicle out on the interstate. Within 32 seconds of the crews arriving on scene, the door popped off, the dash rolled, and the patient extricated out of the vehicle. These are battery-operated extrication equipment. They're a lot stronger, a lot faster, more agile when it comes to vehicle equipment and extrication equipment. I am proud to say that over the course of the last 3 years, we have been able to implement these on all of our primary apparatuses that roll out. Youth programs. I am 31 years old. I started this when I was 27. I'm big into the youth, big into the dual enrollment programs. It's what I grew up on. I had the luxury of having a very fine young gentleman be assigned to me during the youth summer program. This is him working those battery-powered extrication equipment, trying to take a bottle lid off of a orange juice bottle without crushing the bottle. After about the 12th bottle, he finally got it. But this is how we get involved with our youth. This incident. This is the incident where a semi-truck impacted the retreat overpass on I-95. This was something I've never seen before or dealt with. Luckily, through the commission, through Mr. Brown, and the county administration offices, we have a mutual aid agreement. I was able to request for Savannah Fire's specialty rescue unit, and they got out there. This gentleman, if it's anything, the cab of the truck is supposed to be sitting here. This is the headache bar, and there's the trailer. He was carrying 60,000 pounds of rebar, and actually, if you get up close on the other side, it looks like bullet holes on the back side of that headache bar. The cab was stripped clear off of that. Surprisingly, after this accident, this gentleman was able to go to the hospital, be at the hospital for 2 days, and be rolled out in a wheelchair back to his family. And he was trapped underneath that stuff for 6 hours. More training that we are doing. So if you see fireballs, I promise hopefully we'll have signs out there that say training events in place. But this is our most recent accident out on the interstate, and this burnt up the asphalt to the point where they had to repave on the interstate. And then we had last Friday night, like I said, I'm trying to get big into the community involvement when it comes to events. I say we won Best Float. I'll put this out there. I don't think it's right that the mayor was able to vote for HPD to get the award, but that's just me. But I think we had a Best Float. I have a phenomenal administrative assistant. Actually, what you see up there on the right, that is my son. He is a Xerox copy. Right behind him, that is my mini-me. That's the other Xerox copy. These are 2 firefighters here. And this young lady in the middle, she is my administrative assistant. She has been doing phenomenal. She is great. All this was her design and done in less than 6 hours. So she is going to be our public relations person when it comes to events and planning, which I'll get into a little bit later, but not too far later. Vehicle status. I have vehicles that range from 1997 when it comes to engines, all the way up to 2019s. Okay, I have 8 engines owned and operated by Liberty County. Tankers. I have 4 tankers, 3 of which are a 2010, 2012, and then I have one 10-speed engine that is east of I-95 out on Colonel's Island. That is a 1991. And then the other ones are admin vehicles or support staff. So like my vehicle, deputy chief, my captain, and we have 1 support vehicle. These are the stations. This is where I was telling you that we have 3 primary and 4 subs. So every primary station has a substation, and that one lone survivor is actually out on Isle of Wight that broke ground and went into place October 29th of 2020. That project has helped us tremendously, and I will show you the numbers to prove it. Here are those numbers. This is just for Commissioner Stevens' district, so everybody's aware. I've only captured those at his request. So the 3 fire stations that lie within Commissioner Stevens' district is Station 12, which encompasses Lake George and Fleming. Station 1 at what we call our Island Station, which opened January 28th of 2020, or 2021. And the other one out on Colonel's Island. So I'll give you, for instance, Station 12 is 98 square miles of response district just for that fire station. Back in 2019, we only had part-timers during the day. They were dispatched to a total of 945 calls. During that time, we were still heavily reliant on volunteers at night. Throughout that year, we had 83 unanswered calls, meaning you dialed 911, called for some type of fire assistance, and nobody came. In 2020, we stood up our first full-time round-the-clock, and we were slowly graduating in for sleeping. And we were dispatched to 702 calls. 13 of those went unanswered. I am proud to say, and I'm going to do everything I can to be able to look at the commission at the turn of the year and say, Commissioners, for the first time in history, Liberty County Fire Services has gone a year without 1 unanswered call. We make it work, we may be thin, but at the end of the day, we get the job done. Station 17, like I said, we went live in 2020. And just this year alone, from when their actual certificate with the state went compliant and they started recording, which was in January, they've been dispatched to 84 calls just on the Isle of Wight area or as backup to the interstate. Okay. Station 20 speaks for itself. 2019 was kind of a hard year. That is actually when the county assumed the fire department back from a third-party vendor contract. So, call volume by calendar year. As you can see, we have a normal increase. This year, we are projected to be right in the neighborhood of about 1,800 calls for 181 square miles. Our district has grown with the fire service. 2017, when I took over, it was only 72 square miles. As we sit today, we're sitting actually just right at 192 square miles of response district. Okay. Some upcoming events. I've got Santa at the station. This is all dependent on COVID, but I will tell you, until my bosses tell me that I can't have it, Santa will be visiting the stations on these days at these locations, and we will have our mailbox out there so kids can drop off those last-minute letters to Santa. We will ensure that they get there. We'll have some candy canes, some hot chocolate, take pictures. I get to have the joy of our elf and see how that works. So, February 7th kicks off our first in-house recruit class. We are going to grow within our own. Our commissioners have this big thing, as well as our county admin. Let's grow our own. We can grow them, mold them, keep them. So February 7th, we are kicking off our first recruit class. We are also looking to do some of our promotions coming forward. Because right now, myself and my deputy chief are really the only 2 leadership that our fire service has. And then we're hoping here in the near future, upcoming months, we'll be doing a bid on Miller Park headquarters / fire station. So, The information in regards to Santa at the stations will be publicized on the County Fire Facebook page, the Liberty County, Georgia Government Facebook page, and shared. So if you have any questions, my phone number is 912-876-4511, and I'll be more than glad to answer those questions. Yes, sir.
All those stations, how many Marine rescue calls y'all been on?
For the year of 2021, we were dispatched to 17 Marine rescues.
Okay.
I may have missed the ISO rating that we have when you first got up. So what's the ISO rating?
Currently, the ISO rating is an ISO rating of a 4X if you live within 5 road miles of a recognized fire station. So with that said, if you live within 5 miles of any fire station other than the one on Isle of Wight, your ISO rating is a 4. If you live outside of 5 road miles, you are a 4X.
Brian.
Sir.
Don't forget to insert that insurance company does not have to.
Correct. Yes. So I don't work for the insurance companies, but I will tell you, we'll just call it Billy Bob's Insurance Company here in Liberty County. They've got a sister office in Long County. The insurance office for Billy Bob here in Liberty County can turn and say, we are going to use the ISO rating. The one in Long County, same group, can turn and say, we're just going to go off the nearest hydrant. That is solely up to the insurance company themselves. That is nothing that we can control. I know that we all believe if we could get rid of ISO, we would. But we are hoping to maintain our ISO rating. But our last ISO rating was done in 2015, which, as you can see, our area was about 72 square miles, and now we are at 181. So there's been a lot of growth with our department, both positive and good, and negative. So we are adapting and overcoming.
All right. Now, let's coming to the end. Yes, I got a question.
What's the rating for Station 16?
Off the top of my head, I believe they are a 5X. But I would ask you and urge you to reach out to the Walkerville City Fire Department or to the city government. They should be able to confirm it.
Let's do this. We have 2 more. There might be one, but I believe we may have, we'd like to ask Mr. Coroner if he has anything he wants to say. If not,
well, I know most people like me to speak. But I'm going to tell Mr. Brown in case. But I just want to say that as far as on the corner side is concerned, sad to say, but as of right now, numbers are about 215 for this year. As far as calls wise in the corners office, that number has greatly increased from, probably 10 years ago. The numbers, and they're not going down, they keep going up. I addressed the county commissioners back in August, I think it was, at the commission meeting. I addressed them as far as building a dedicated coroner's office for Liberty County because of the space. We have occasionally run out of space to be able to house the necessary things we need to house. So we've asked for a dedicated building. And they're going to hopefully put it on the list. I don't know if it'll be top of the list, bottom of the list, or medium part of the list. But hopefully it'll be on the list. So if you hear anything about it coming later in the line, that's what it will be. This building will be basically to make sure we have what it takes to get a growth and increase in Liberty County. That's it.
How many COVIDs you
COVID, this year with COVID death was the highest we've had. We've probably had anywhere between 30 to 50 COVID deaths this year.
compared to last year?
Last year was real low. We probably had about maybe 10, maybe 15 last year. Last year we had more fatality than we did when the sheriff came in. That was the biggest thing we're trying to keep the fatalities down. So we've had less fatality this year than we've had probably I don't know how long, but last year we had about 32, 36 fatalities last year. 34 last year. Fatalities last year.
all right. Last but not least, we will now hear from our Liberty County Sheriff, Mr. Arson.
everybody to see me. Good afternoon, everybody. I didn't really prepare myself to come up here and speak, but I do have a little bit of knowledge I still have in my head. I don't know, I'm still a former drill sergeant, so everybody can hear me, right? Right. I kind of speak kind of loud, so I like to talk and move at the same time. If I'm talking too fast for you, let me know. I'll slow it down and break it down for you. Like our coroner said, when I took over office in January of 2021, Liberty County was ranked number 13 in the state of Georgia for DUI fatalities. And to me, that was totally unacceptable. It was my drive to make sure that we don't have that number again. That we're not Atlanta, we're not Fulton, we're not DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, or Henry County. They have way more personnel than we do, more people, citizens in their county. So that was one of my main objectives. Second main objective, our deputies. We don't have enough. They look like we do, but we camouflage it a lot. We don't have enough. We cover 603 square miles of Liberty County. That's a lot of room. And sometimes before, we only had maybe 3 to 4 deputies on the road at a time. Totally unacceptable. Because if you have a domestic case and then you got an accident, it takes 2 to go to a domestic case. Now you only have 1 that's freed up to go take a wreck. Thank God we got the Georgia State Patrol, we got our municipality to help us out. But we're going to have to grow. The average counties that our size or better have at least 225 personnel to be a total full service sheriff office. When I walked in the office, we only had 117 people. Totally unacceptable. Our response time was either an hour or hour and 30 minutes to get to you. Thanks to commission, we got some more personnel in. But as you know, like I know, it's hard to get people in our profession now due to the climate of what's going on in this nation, which is very sad. Anybody that sit to me and believe that defunding the police is the right thing to do, you don't want that. Because the next thing is going to happen, the military is going to come in, and then we're going to have martial law. Then you're not going to be able to do anything. One bad apple does not make everybody bad. One bad student doesn't make Liberty County school system the worst system in the county or in the state. We have to stop dramatizing things and making it worse than what it is. We have to stay calm, cool, and collected. We got to be able to agree to this. Yes, you were. Let me show you how this slaves work. If you understand how it works, you can't say, well, you sure you got me? And now they say, well, I use a lady. Yeah, you got it. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to teach you how to do what we look when we look for DUI. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, I'll find a DUI before I get home. I'm not even on the road anymore. But it's easy to see it. I was in Atlanta the other day. The guy pulled up right beside me. I went in a patrol car. He had a 22 miles. Right there in front of me. I'm like, are you serious? But we have to change the thought pattern of our children. That's where we're losing them. We're not losing the elementary school. They're good there. It's from that middle school to 12th grade is where we lose them. And if they don't have a positive figure at home, then that means this community gonna have to work with them. Let's not just celebrate the kids that are doing good. All right. Even some of the bad ones can be saved. But we have to be willing to work together. It is not one person's job to do it. It's all of us. We can't sit back and say the school is doing this and the school is doing that. If you are a parent and you care more about going to the club than to make sure your kid pick up a book then that's your fault.
There you go.
I see it. When you go to a ball game, when you see the parents up in the stands acting like barbarians, and it's an event for a child, you cannot live your life off the potential what your child can be.
That's right.
It's not going to work. Everybody's child is not going to be Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Herschel Walker, Richard LeCount, Davion Mitchell. It's not going to happen. But make sure that you teach your child to be the best person that they can be. That's what we need to work on. And until we get to that point, and me as the sheriff of this county, I am sworn to protect you and every citizen in this county. I'm not going to treat you any different than I'm going to treat you. That's right. I do everything by the book and I do it fair. So if you think I'm going to help you break the law, you can forget that. I'm not because I don't think nobody in here will put anything on my conversation. And I don't expect y'all to think that I'm going to do that because I'm a very honest, loyal, and honorable person. That's what I consider myself. So I try to set the example. So any citizen that needs to talk to me or needs any assistance, I'll help you up until the point when I tell you, you need to go get your attorney. That's as far as I can go with you. But we're moving in the right direction here in Liberty County. We get new vehicles in for our deputies. We get new equipment in for our deputies, things that we didn't have before. A lot of stuff that we did have was broken. We didn't have any accountability in the sheriff's office. Now we do. Now we take care of all our property, so when people come in, I know if they're leaving with my equipment rather than taking it. Just recently, we just got new tasers in. So it was another county in Georgia, Talbot County, Sheriff. They are a poor and rural county, which they don't have much. So rather than destroying those tasers and put them on the shelf, I donated it to older tasers so they could have some for non-lethal use rather than going straight for the gun. So I felt that was a good thing that we did. We got great reviews from their county and their commission. They sent me letters of thank you for helping them out. So whenever we can help another county out without taking a burden on our taxpayers, I'm going to do it. Because that's what we're here for. We are living.
I just had a quick question, sir. Does every vehicle come with a dash cam? Or
It does now. The dash cam feature is you don't have to go down and touch the button anymore. When that light comes on, everything comes on. Right. And all my deputies already know if a citizen comes and complains and there's no video, I'm going to believe what the citizen says. So they all got that instruction already.
Is there something in your vision or structurally inside of your program that accounts for psychiatric people who can be taken care of without going to jail? How do you deal with psychiatric people?
We're working on that now. We have got some of our deputies going to class now, taking the CIT training, which is a critical training for dealing with people with PTSD and dealing with mentally ill personnel. So we're working on that now. I took that training when I was a Georgia State Trooper, and it works. It is excellent. So now all our deputies are now getting more training now. They're going to be able to go to school and get that education that they need. So that is definitely one of the things that's on my plan.
Just one question, one other question. Do you have PTSD around PTSD around Hinesville more? I mean, with the soldiers and all.
Yes, I was just in the office with the general this afternoon, and we are working with the with him and also with the
MPs and
the military.
military.
Yeah, military advocacy for it. So we definitely have that, and also the gentleman's wife, Ms. Megan Costanza. She's also a nurse at the Liberty County the Wayne Army Hospital. So she's active in helping us get that program together. So we're gonna be reaching out to the federal government for those funding to help us out with that issue.
I got one quick question. We having a lot of issues with the kids issuing threats. How is the sheriff department handling that?
Well, I just got off the phone. We just had that issue yesterday. Well, actually, for 2 weeks, I've been responding to school and call for kids. What Dr. Perry and I had discussed, we got one parent in today and talked to them. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go around to all the schools, let them know about how serious it is by making a terroristic threat, that the penalty for that, and that the parents can be charged if they don't take charge of their kids and do what they need to do. So we're gonna be having some assemblies going around to the kids and talking to them. And also, my CHAMPS program, which is gonna be helping out the kids, just like the DARE program, we'll be implementing that. I already sent my representative to school, so when the school year starts back in January, that program will be in place and we'll be going around to the school. And I'll definitely be out there talking to the kids, because I love children.
Amen. Part B of that is, with the threats, bullying is also an issue as well. Are y'all handling?
All of that is gonna be put all in the same pot.
Yes.
All that's in the same pot. So we're gonna definitely be doing our due diligence to get ahead of that, and also try to provide some training for the parents also, because it takes everybody. We can't just do a drop off at school and say that the teacher got to do that. Okay. Anybody else? Thank y'all for y'all time.
Thank you.
Let me answer one question. Mr. Strauss, your question was, do we see sewer coming in Liberty County in a rural area in the next 10 years? I have not looked at for yet, but I would hope so. But I think within our ARPA money, I think we did lay aside some money for a study on that. So how long will it take after that? I don't have an answer. Thank you. One other thing, we're going to be out here by 8 o'clock. We're a little after. Representative William asked me to let him come back real briefly, talk about something.
Have y'all noticed I'm the only person he says real briefly? I don't know if I'm the only one noticing that, but he ain't used the word briefly enough, except twice with me. And I told him, the only reason I wanted to come is you're talking about money, and I bring to you the only thing is bringing money that was discussed tonight. Everything else costs money. And because of time, I'm going to delay it and have another town hall meeting to talk about the possibility of casinos at 84 and 95. What we're going to talk about is the $300 million building, 2,000 construction jobs, 1,200 permanent jobs, average pay $42,500 apiece. Then you won't have to worry about your taxes, because we'll cut them by 20 to 30%. So if you don't want a job, don't come to the meeting. If you're against it, it's wrong. Go right ahead.
Okay, with all the funding that Liberty County received, why is it hard for the outside places like Midway, and besides when you live inside the city limits of Hinesville, to get assistance, because with the CARES funding and things like that?
Well,